Dear friends, greetings. Welcome back to yet another episode 2 of Catalyst X CX Conversations. And today we have a trending CX professional. For the record, she has just been ranked, I think 2 days or 3 days ago, as the 11th most exciting, or you can say contributing CX professional by CX magazine, CXM magazine. I'm glad to introduce Vaishali Dialani. I hope the pronunciation is right. Today. Hi Vaishali, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to have this chat with you. We've been in touch for quite a while, but this is the first time I'm really excited to have a CX conversation with you in person.
Indeed, for a very long time, I would probably add something impromptu, which is Vaishali was one of the first few whom I reached out inquiring about the value of CCXP, what do I do and all. And I was amazed at the community as well as how Vaishali came forward to share all her experience, what books to read, how to go about it, and also shared how kind and warm this community is. And I am a witness to it. And also, one more credit goes to her. The name of this series, CatalystX, also goes to her because she pushed, saying that the options which were there before weren't up to the mark. So I think that will remain through this series because the name is not going to change for the near future. And that said, Vaishali is currently working with a brand called Konabos. Previously, she worked with Now Money, a brand which is, I think, which is based out of Dubai. I hand over the baton to Vaishali to share a little about herself before we jump into this conversation. Over to you, Vaishali.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction. So, I've been in the space for almost 8 years now, and I only was introduced to CX a couple of years ago. But over the time that I've realized that CX really aligns to my core values, and I love what I do. So, I currently work as a customer experience analyst for Converse Consulting, and I get the opportunity to work with clients all around the world, especially US and Canada, while I'm still based in Dubai. So that's absolutely amazing.
True.
I focus a lot on customer experience strategy, customer journey mapping, discoverability, and how can organizations kind of improve their efficiencies through digital transformation.
That's wonderful, and I think that stood out for me that how you saw the alignment with the core values. I think once we get that into that space, I think there's no looking back for a professional because it's so much of us every day into the workspace, and it also stays with us for probably a lifetime. That's
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
almost like
Please go ahead.
it's almost like you don't have any boundary between your personal and professional self. You can bring empathy and emotions into work, and I love that.
Yeah, amazing. Because I think it's end of the day, one human being. There cannot be two versions of it. One off the office and one on the office, kind of. So with that, let's move on with the conversation. The very first one. How did you get introduced to CX? Because I don't think any college or university teaches CX separately.
Unfortunately, I wish they did at our time, but a couple of years ago. But I was introduced to CX because of my curiosity. Having worked at Now Money for almost 4 years now, it gave me a platform where I had the opportunity to explore all the different roles in a startup, right? Because you're never doing the same job on one of the days. So I remember actually speaking to the founders and saying, I love engagement, I love communications, I love research, but I just can't find my niche. And they said, take your time, explore what's there out. It was them who pushed me to find myself, and my curiosity led me to CX because I did a lot of research on what should I do, what shouldn't do to be able to find my core and myself.
I think that way you were very lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I say that's very important.
Yeah.
At least in professional life.
Very grateful. It's Catherine and Ian Dillon who really pushed me to, go and explore what's there out there for me.
Great. So now that the beginning started from there, and one thing that stood out from what you shared was curiosity. I think curiosity itself sets the stage for so many things that are wonderful, discovery and win-wins that generally follow. So after 8 years, what is CX to you today?
Wow. So for me, CX means Very, very easy. It actually means the word itself, the experience, the emotions that I'm triggering for the customers by solving their problems. That's how I look at CX. If for me, it is all about, am I solving someone's problem? Am I making someone's life easier? And how is it overall impacting the organization as well simultaneously?
I think that's wonderful. That also resonates with an often picked up aspect, which they say you are not selling a product or a service or a feature. They say you are
Correct.
offering solution. And I think if
Yes.
in true sense that customer success word is, I think, lived by or aligned with, I think relationships would be of a lifetime for the business and B2B or B2C and so on. And we have enough of examples. We'll come to that as to brands which stood out in this space for a long, long time. Okay. With that, let's move to the next part. From your experience so far, how do you see organizations? I would rather put teams first, organizations come after. How do you see teams and organizations leverage CX to the best advantage?
Honestly, at this point, I don't think CX is more about only the customer. It is also the employees. I think it's all in all the X factor only. And that's how I've started looking at it. And I think organizations, there is a shift there now is no one's only, talking about the customer. Even then internal employee is your customer now because they're retaining with you, right? So I think a lot has to do with the experience factor and what organizations are doing consciously to embed that into the culture. And that's how they're leveraging customer experience per se in their organizations and within teams and unifying silos as well.
Oh, that's indeed actually wonderful. I think I'm happy that in the Catalyst text the last ends with an X and without any prefix, which is a C or a E. And so true that today everyone is talking about EX. Not only the customer, your internal customer is your employee. And if your employee is happy and excited about coming back to work every day, I'm talking about hundreds and thousands and lakhs of employees when they come back to the small, medium, large organizations, I think the possibilities
Mm.
would be plenty. 9 hours, everyone excited. I don't know what's the, now one can only imagine. And I think it's pretty much nicely gets summarized what you mentioned. It is all about experience, irrespective of a place, office, home, the place of business, and so on. And I think it makes it worthwhile for all the participants, stakeholders, shareholders, guests, customers, employees. So wonderful.
And because
Yeah.
um, today, even if you look at it, a lot of people are calling the customer experience as based on the persona that they're catering to. So, like agent experience or citizen experience or public experience. So, they have started no longer customer is just more generic, it's more personalized to the persona they're catering to. So, what remains consistent is the experience, the front kind of changes through based on your customers.
Yeah. So I think this, you brought out a very interesting point, persona. I think it supports organizations or a product provider or a service provider to channelize their energies to the right customer because not every product is for everyone. Not every service is for everyone. And you'll probably spread too thin if you want to
Mm.
address everyone. But when you are able to get your persona right, I think it's one of the very first important steps. Then your energy is channelized in the right direction and they receive it, and then you can learn from it. I'm not saying that probably persona also gets revisited by
Evolve.
organizations. Yeah.
It
And
does. And
new
that's the
product.
future of CX right now.
Amazing. So I think this also brings to focus the importance of this is not a done closed chapter. It
Correct.
keeps changing every passing day. And in a world of chat GPT, we can only imagine a world moving much faster and customer expectations, I think changing, evolving at a rapid pace.
True. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So that with that, let's go back to the point where we arrived at a subject of organizations. Would you like to share one or two organizations that stood out to you for the exceptional CX that they delivered over your lifetime so far?
That's such a difficult question, man. I swear, because I always kind of I'm so tech savvy and digital savvy that I'm always using different apps. And this analyst in me is always thinking, this is nice, that is nice. But I don't like this experience. So it's really hard to pick and choose an organization per se, because you might like one of the features or the experience of a feature. But like you said, every organization is constantly evolving. You'll not find anything absolutely holistic that you love about a brand. But I definitely like a few things. I love Airbnb. I've used it quite a lot, and I really enjoy the experience they have, the reviews, and how I feel so connected to the host even before I've ever met them. And that's the power of digital experience that I really enjoy. But I also really like Amazon, which has great delivery. But again, you can't compare the two because they're in complete different industries. I think these two definitely are something I use the most, and I personally love the experience I have with them.
That's so nice to hear about Airbnb. Having worked 11 years in hotels industry and seeing the big brands, how long they took to reach where they reached, and an Airbnb comes like a rocket and takes away the cake, becoming the
I,
largest, you can say, host, if you want to call the hotel as a host, and the largest inventory, and by valuation, and also by revenues. And last but not the least, the one which built this all is experience. So you well pointed out about your connection with the host much before the check-in happened. And I think it's
correct,
they seems to have leveraged the human connection. Hotels
correct.
deliver,
Absolutely.
yeah, deliver structured experience, whereas a host brings in something very authentic to that city or country. And I think they are also prepared to be a great host. And so
Yeah,
I am looking forward to, not yet tried Airbnb, so I must, while I can vouch for Amazon, amazing customer experience. And if I have a complaint, if I have a concern, I know well before I go knocking on the door, I know the path, that the chat will be answered in under 1 minute, and there will be an answer, most likely pointing me to the response or the right way to look at it. And I'm more or less confident
yeah,
that they didn't do a mistake. It's my way
correct.
of understanding. Let me have that clarified. So I think all said done, I would look forward. I admire this brand to for what they have done, and I aspire that, and I wish that they continue to do this great job. So there's a benchmark. I think probably they picked it from Zappos. Only Amazon should be able to tell it. I heard great things about Zappos as a brand, which had similar or better
Mhm.
standards for customer experience. For some other day, we'll have a discussion on Zappos. With that, you
But
want to share something?
sorry, one last thing. I was listening to a very interesting podcast on Happy Market, and they mentioned a very interesting point about how Amazon actually never deletes bad reviews on their app or on their platform, because they want to build that authenticity towards customers and show them that, if you want to be able to hear someone else's opinion as well, and not just pretend to be this most perfect platform. So it's in its true sense also customer centric, and customer obsessed.
It's so difficult to be, but the benefits can be immense. And I
And
think,
they are, because
yeah,
you trust them, right? And even with returns you trust them. So there are many features that you obviously like about the particular brand.
they proved it over the years. It was not like a not one time surprise kind of a thing. And as
Mhm.
you pointed also about being authentic, when there is a negative experience and it is handled well, it's often said, even in hotels, I heard very often, they become your brand advocates. So first, we don't wish to have a dissonance, but if you have a dissonance, let's convert it into an advantage. What else can be better than that? So with
Yeah.
that,
And
let's
that's
come.
what we do.
Please go ahead.
Sorry. You can probably take clips of these, and use it for like use case studies as a separate clip completely.
Absolutely.
Um, But I was also saying that's what even Now Money does, and that's what we did at Now Money for almost 4 years. We're a financial inclusion organization in the UAE for the low-income migrant workers. And these low-income migrant workers, every single 50 fills matters to them. Every fill matters to them, right? So we actually have had amazing return policy and things like that if their money wasn't sent. So I think the overall experience, and we've seen that evolve and actually have higher customer retention because of the way we were authentic to them. So there are a lot of organizations now continuing to follow those footsteps and becoming more customer centric.
No, I think we will have a separate conversation someday, and it's a promise to the audience. I think I tried to study this brand Now Money, and then I could relate, being in Dubai for 5 years, how each dirham matters to them and how many queue outside money exchanges, probably paying a significant amount because they lack the ability to send it with the least at the least cost. And if someone provides it, I think first thing done is human good, and the second I think is about everything else comes after. So I do admire, really admire the good work done by this brand. Some other day one episode on it definitely is worth, because these individuals would have saved immensely by having convenience and also the savings to send the money. I think for the unknown, they might end up traveling from the camp or someplace, go to a metro or even take a metro, paying 3 to 5 dirham, and then reaching that place, transferring the money, paying money for that, and then going back. Imagine that's simplified. You can do it from your app. It's amazing thing for them. Wonderful. So with that, let's move to the next one, which is very closely related to what you just talked about, what Now Money did, which is associated with technology, CX and technology. If I keep it just them, there's two as individuals next to each other. What's your take on it? The CX and technology. What can be done, or what are the possibilities?
Endless. I think there are endless possibilities, right? That's the word I would use for them. One thing I would definitely say is I don't see them separate anymore. Digital transformation, digital experience, CX are all under one bracket, which is the X factor. And what I love about it is that organizations are taking conscious efforts towards using digital transformation, taking steps towards digital transformation, road mapping with the CX lens. And that's what we do at Converse Consulting. We help organizations plan their roadmap for digital transformation projects from a CX lens. So you're constantly obviously talking about, okay, what tools are going in the back end? What technologies are we using? Do we need to think about this? But at the same time, you're, parallelly shifting towards what's happening on the front end. What is the customer experiencing? What's the user story like? Is the feature they want? What do they want to see? Do we have the right tools and technologies in the back end? So you're going back and forth with CX and digital transformation. And that kind of road mapping is what we do at Converse. And I love it because it's so empowering to be able to see the best of both worlds. So I absolutely think they're not different and they're unified in a beautiful way. What I love to call the customer experience road mapping.
Yeah, I think what's it probably what comes to my mind is technology is like that magic stick that I have my CX aspirations, wish list that I would like to do it for my customers. Can you help me do
Yeah.
that? And I think
Yeah.
that's can do wonders to every industry and every business and every individual. So with that, let's move to the last one of for this conversation. It's not a question. It is more about, from your experience so far, what would be your words of wisdom for the CX professionals?
I mean, I have so much to learn from others. I don't know what kind of words of wisdom would I be able to give. But I definitely, from my experience, and would like to share that everyone's so authentic in themselves. And I hope we all continue to be that because it is us who are the voice of the customers. And if we're not authentic to ourselves and to the community, then we can never do justice to our customers. So be authentic and continue being the voice of the customers, but also take care of yourself. Because when you're empathetic to so many different personas and diverse stakeholders, it can be quite overwhelming and challenging. So make sure you're in a good state and a healthy state, mentally,
Definitely.
emotionally, physically, just holistically, and that you can then have the right headspace for your customer.
That's indeed very, very important. I think you pointed out to empathy. It is, I think, in everything that organizations do today, because that sets the tone for every good that can happen after. Design thinking talks about empathy. Every other method or methodology also is starting with empathy first. And then being the voice of customer, I think, is the best thing that a CX professional can do, so that the organization continues to appreciate the importance of customer to them, for them, and for their success. And in all this process, if one is authentic, I think the next step does not have to be thought about. It will happen
Yeah,
naturally. So that's wonderful
absolutely.
advice and piece of and words of wisdom for the CX professional. Thanks a lot for that, Vaishali. So with that, we come to the end of the conversation. And for the audience, I hope we hope that you have enjoyed the conversation and had some takeaways. And if you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to share in the comment section once this episode goes live. We'll be happy to clarify any doubts or questions you have. Myself, I'll keep an eye on it, and if I have to approach Vaishali to get a response, I'll be happy to do that. And please feel free to share this with your friends, professionals, whoever is interested in customer experience. And go ahead, subscribe to the channel so that you get to the notification the moment there is a new episode that goes live. And before we wind up, thanks a lot to Vaishali for taking time out from the busy schedule and making this episode happen. Thank you very much, Vaishali. I look forward to the next opportunity to bring you back, maybe now money or maybe some other topic.
Thank you so much, Kiran. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.